Okay.
Wait, yeah, sound is okay. Can you speak?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, your sound is okay and we're live.
Can you hear me?
Awesome.
No.
Yeah, we can hear you, dude. You're good. So,
Okay.
what's up, people on the internet? And what the fuck? Why do I hear myself? Bro,
It's
come
not me.
on. Someone's fucking it up.
Say again. It was Dinesh.
Oh,
Immediately
yeah.
he went on mute. I saw that.
Yeah, fuck.
It's always
Dude,
No,
Dinesh.
I
It's
just
always
checked
Dinesh.
to see whether it was me. Is it me?
Yes, it's you.
Fuck.
I thought we did it good, dude. This time I thought we
Is it
were
better now?
prepared. Yeah,
I think so.
it's good, it's good.
Probably because it was on loudspeaker, I guess.
Obviously, it was because of the loudspeaker, dude.
Always Dinesh, bro. Always Dinesh.
Dude, I thought like everything went fine this time, and I think like
It never will do.
yeah, okay. We are setting up our katana scene today, and my good friend, our good friend, Bhargava Jaisimha. I don't know your other name, middle name, dude.
Algata.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try that. He's gonna walk us through the katana setup because this guy, he knows stuff. Not a lot, but he knows stuff about katana. So let's see. That's what he think. So
What an
let's see what he
introduction,
does.
bro.
Yeah.
I know a little bit of stuff. Know a little bit of stuff. And it kind of sucks that you can't say my middle name, but it's all good. So what's up? Today we're gonna take a look at the katana scene that I have here. Before I go through this, I just want to mention that I'm using PR Man with katana for basically any character that I'm trying to do. I don't have any saved renders. I'm trying to just set up a scene file for the goblin to make sure that things are just working fine. So when I finally pick up the um, dragon jellyfish thing which Sunil is doing,
You called it
I will
dragon.
have it. Okay, bro, chill. So finally, when I have that ready, I'll be good to go in the shading front. At least I won't have to spend time setting stuff up. So I have a basic template here. Now I have PRman installed for Katana. I'm doing that because I wanted to learn Katana a little bit deeper. I could have done it or gotten away with it with Maya a whole lot more easily, but for some reason I felt the need to put in the effort to try it with Katana. So essentially, if you want to get the same thing done, if you already have Katana installed, you can let me show you. You can go to renderman.pixar.com/store and go to the non-commercial, and you can get the non-commercial license for free, which is really cool because every year with every update for Enderman you get the latest and the greatest whatever PRman has to offer, and it's free of cost, so you really don't have to pay for it, and it's brilliant. So once you click on this, it'll ask you to sign in. Once you sign in, make sure you remember this password because it will be useful in a bunch of places. Note it down somewhere maybe. It'll download a small exe file and you can just double-click install that. And in one of your setups, it's gonna ask you if what all softwares you want to install it for. I generally install it for everything because I might try it with everything at some point in time, but I generally use it for Katana and for Maya. Now, unlike other softwares like Maya or Houdini and a lot of other softwares where a whole lot of things are very well integrated, Katana, nothing is integrated into the software itself. Everything is set up from the ground, from base. So you have to put in some time and effort to set up a file which works and renders. But even before you do that, before I forget, let me just tell you that once you have Katana and PRman installed, it's not necessary that they're speaking to each other in your computer. So if you create something like a network material create, and if you try to access any of the, well, in my case, it'll work. But if you try to access any of the PSN or the PRN shading nodes, you will most probably not get it because your Katana is not integrated with your PRMan installation. So to do that, you would want to create an environment variable. It's pretty simple and straightforward to do. You just go to your start and look for environment variables, so you can do edit environment variables, which will bring up this window, and you're going to have to set up a few of them. So if I remember correctly, it was Katana resources, and these three that I installed, which is path, rman bin, and rman tree. So basically, wherever you have your prman installed, those paths are being mentioned to Katana to tell it to pick it up from there. So once you have these three paths set up, you're kind of good to go. So basically, your C program files, Katana, whichever version that's installed inside bin, both of those inside bin, and the one the tree, the rman tree, is the one which comes outside the bin folder. So let me just show that here. So essentially, inside program files inside Pixar, you have 24.1. That's the latest that I have installed. So that's for Houdini. For Katana, you have it here. So, not in that. My bad. My bad. Renderman Pro Server 24.1. So this is the path you would want to add to rman tree. You can just do that by saying new, giving it a variable name, that is path, rman bin, and rman tree, and also Katana underscore resources. These are the three and four environment variables you would want to create, and these would be the paths you would want to give it. So once you have that, just close and reopen PRMan, and you should be able to create a network material create, or even if you don't do that, even on the outside, if you just do a tab and look for PSN, you should get a PRMan shading node. If you have a PRMan shading node, that means your Katana is able to read the PRMan nodes properly, and it's all working fine. So once you have that, you once you want to try to start rendering stuff off in Katana, it is preferable to have a template for yourself that you have tested and make sure it works. So the next time you have an asset that you want to try rendering, instead of spending time creating this, you already have a template which is ready, where you can just go into Importomatic, load up an asset, or load up a geometry, and have it good to go for renders, along with lighting and whatever object statements you want and all of that. So to now, before I show you what I have in this file, I'm just gonna create a new one, and I'm gonna show you what are the important stuff that you'd want to keep in mind, and what is the important stuff that you want in your node graph to start rendering. So the first thing you'd need is something called an Importomatic. So in your Importomatic, you'd want through your Importomatic, you'd try to import your geometry, and the second most important thing is you want lights. So you get lights through a Gaffer 3 node. Now, I'm not creating a template here. I'm just showing you what are the important requirements, and each one of these is a different part of the network in my file, which I'll go through later. And you can always just use a merge node to merge this stuff in. So I have my Importomatic, I have my lights, and you would want to come, you'd get in your object through Importomatic, you'd get in your lights, or you create your lights through your Gaffer 3 node. Once you have that, you'd want to render settings, to which you would render. You would render your output from here, and you would also say want a camera maybe. If you're importing your cameras that you've created in Maya, you can do that through your Importomatic. But if you're creating cameras in Katana, you want to use create cameras, and you can create as many of those as you want. So once you have this, these are your basic requirements to get anything rendered at all. So the moment you want your AOV passes, or your basically your passes for anything at all, and for your renders and any of that stuff, you will have to start creating a slightly bigger network. And now, because I don't want to put in the effort of creating everything from scratch again, I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to explain my template in as much as possible so that you know what you want to work with. By the way, hi Dheeraj. Okay, so now I have my inputs coming in from here. So my inputs is basically an importomatic node, which brings in my object, and I have my network material create node. I'm just creating materials here for whatever asset it may be. So this will keep changing based on every asset that I create. And I have my cameras coming in through here. I have two cameras here. If I want to create more cameras, I can always just create new cameras, name it something else, and just keep adding it into the merge node. But as of this case, I just need two, so I'm just leaving it at that. And I have this node here. It's called an interactive render filter. I'll get to this towards the ending of the session because you'd want to know what else I'm doing in the Katana file for you to understand how this works. So, and also, okay, yeah, I'll get to this towards the um, ending of my presentation basically. So I have object statements coming in through here. So if you want to smooth your object, you want to use PRMan object statements for that, which I have in a group stack. So all of these, as far as if I want to use more than one node for anything, I use a group stack. So I just add in a group stack, and if I wanted to use a PRMan object statement, I'd create a PRMan object statement node, and I would just look at the group stack, and I would shift and the middle mouse drag and drop this in here. So once I have this in here this way, I can just keep hitting the plus button to create as many of those as I want. So the thing about the group stack node is it stacks one on top of another. This is very helpful in these kind of cases where you want whatever is below to override whatever is on top. Now, in the case of that's probably a good thing I remembered that. In the case of a material creation, I don't want it to really stack on top of each other. I want it to merge everything. So you can use something called a group merge. So in a group merge, if I create a NMC network material create, and if I shift and drag, middle mouse drag this in here, and if I add in new material creates, and if I go in here, you can see how all these material creates are adding one next to another to a merge node. So that's the difference between a group stack and a group merge. That's a You have different use cases for both, especially with a network material create. You don't have an input for this. So if you had to create two network material creates, you couldn't really connect them to each other, which is kind of curious. I wonder what happens if you put it in a group stack and try to add more of them. What am I doing? There it is. And about this page. Oh, okay. There you go. It errors out. It says something. It said all nodes in group must have at least one input and one output. Like I said, the network material create does not have an input, so it can't really be put inside a group stack. You need a group merge for that. So I have my object statements, like I was saying, and in my object statements, I have PRMan's object attributes. Hold up for a second. Too much reflection on my screen. I couldn't see what I was doing. So, okay, yeah. So in my PRMan object statements, I have object statements like what would happen in case of displacements and what is the displacement bound, and like smoothing and all that stuff. Not exactly smoothing, but if I wanted to, and a bunch of things can be resolved through object statements in PRMan. That's the biggest advantage of using PRMan. You have a lot of control over your object itself compared to other renderers like V-Ray or Arnold. From what I've noticed, I haven't used V-Ray all that much, but the little that I have, I've noticed that PRMan seems to be doing a much better job at it. And I have an OP script here to smooth out my geometry. Now, the moment you get a model into Katana, let me do one thing. Let me disable this node. Let me take a few renders to show you examples of what I'm trying to get at. I'm just going to enable my gray shader. So with that enabled, I will have gray shader assigned onto everything. That's awesome. So let me just take a render. So what I'm trying to get at is with both of these disabled, with both the smoothing nodes disabled, I should get a very jagged render with hard edges. Like imagine having your model with uh, in Maya with one pressed in your number pad along with the object selected, and you're looking at it with hard edges and not soft edges. That is what essentially you should see. My computer is a little slow, so it's going to take its own sweet time to render. You know what? Interactive filters. You can use interactive filters to immediately just switch to low samples and half the resolution to save some time. Mhm. I have my AOV passes set up, so I'll get to that in a minute. Let's just wait for this to render. Beautiful. There's nothing in there. My will things. Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Give me a second. Oh no, man. Always just wants to embarrass you. This katana had me in tears 4 years ago. I'm so sorry for that, Ashish. So, okay, now if I go into my normal pass, as you can see, all these polygons are, well, you can see the polygons. If you want to smooth that out, this is the OP script that I have, which is suddenly in tears for some reason. Why is it in tears?
Wait, do you see those faces even when you have your normals smoothed?
Yeah, these will. You mean if you smooth the normals in Maya?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be still. They'll still be jagged. You'll still be able to see the polyfaces because you, unless you tell PR man that this is a smooth geo, it won't smooth it. So it's a
Okay.
little messed up that way. Something is definitely wrong. I don't know why this decided to go wrong today. I'm just gonna disable that for a moment and do this. Geo. Oh crap. It's geo shape. Okay, beautiful. Display. Ah, there you go. It's making a bunch of stuff now. That's awesome. So now the easier way to smooth geometry in Katana with PR man. That's always the keyword with PR, man, this will not work with other renderers, is to give a subd tag or a subdivision mesh tag to your geometry. You see this type of geometry that's mentioned here without an attribute script, it's just called a polymesh. With an attribute script, it's called a subdivision mesh. Now, with that active, if I take another render, it should smooth out my normals. And when that's happening, I'm just gonna try and fix this real quick. Mm. So you can see how the normals are now smooth because of that attribute script that I enabled earlier. Now I'm gonna do the same through the OP script, and I'm gonna explain to you what the difference is. Sunil, by the way, if there's anything else you want to ask, you can ask, and Dinesh as well. And if anybody other than Ashish and
I was about
Dinesh
to
and
ask,
this area,
the script that you have done here, it's not a node that this is the script that you wrote, right? For
kind
the
of, that's kind of partly true, not completely. Displacement shader, why is this going so wrong? Just a sec, I'm sorry. Something is kind of killing me right now, and I don't know why that's happening. Is that a material problem? What the fuck?
where did you bring in new geo and like naming stuff? No?
No, I did not bring in the new geo, but even otherwise, it should just work. I don't know why this is erroring out. It was working until the last time I showed it to you, and something's going wrong now. Kind of messed up when it does that.
Let's figure it
I'm
out.
just gonna. I don't mind. I'm trying to do that. Brilliant. There's no render at all. Okay. I am not sure why that's happening. Give me a second. Uh, you were sitting next to me. We only joked around good times. Those were good times, man. Type error found root word rope geo shape. Okay. So one of the awesome things about Katana is with every render, there's a render log saved. So if there's an error in any render, you can always just go to your render log tab and you can see what's going wrong. In this case, comparison. Yeah, oh, there's some weird problem here, which, in all honesty, I'm not in. Oh, don't tell me. No, no, no. That's so stupid. That is so stupid. So, at some point of time, to disable this node, instead of pressing D when I was in the node graph, I had clicked in here and I put the D in here in the script. So,
Ooh.
yeah, that was so stupid. I put the D in the wrong place.
That
Not sure if I'm supposed to say that on here, but that was hilarious.
you said it.
At
You
least to me.
already did, bro. You already did.
But lesson for a life: don't put D in wrong place. This is like life lesson.
Stop saying it, bro.
Yeah, Sunil, stop saying it. So, anyways, that's what is going wrong. But now you can see that the OP script is working as well. We do not have any of those polygons in there. So my material assignment here looks a little different because it's just looking for the type of material under geo. It's looking for the type of geo which is polymesh. So if I have this node disabled, you can see that these are called polymesh. So that's what it's looking for. That's why they're picking all of this. And if there was something called submesh, that would get picked as well. But in this case, because there isn't, it's not picking anything from here. it's only picking everything from here. It's the other way around now because it's already assigned. So if that was disabled, and if I do here, it'll pick a lot of them. Over here, it'll pick nothing. So yeah, therefore I have proven my point. Okay. So in the OP script, there's this small script which is there, which you can just find on the internet if you look for it enough. So there are different types of smoothing that you can give according to Maya. So if you, every time you smooth a mesh in Maya, if I have Maya open, that's awesome.
Someone says voice is echoing. What is happening?
Voice is echoing. Is my voice echoing? Can anybody check?
That-
Internet if you look for it enough.
Yeah.
Is my voice echoing?
Yep.
Is it very bad?
I don't know. It's your voice though.
Smooth or mesh? Is it better now?
Do you have your camera and okay? Do you have like audio from your screen share and your camera? Can you hear me? Oh shit. Wait, you hear me, right? What?
I can hear you, bro. His audio is gone.
Yeah, he's figuring it out maybe. Let's say.
Oh man, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, bro.
You can hear me?
Yes, only
So was
Bhargava.
the entire video with like echoed audio, or was it just now?
I don't
I
know. Like,
That would suck if that was
our
it.
man been in our tree. I
no,
hope
it's only
somebody
now.
else can always just
Okay.
create. But can you
I
hear me
did
now?
double
Is
check.
it
I
much
actually I was playing the video and like it was not happening before.
awesome? Is it okay now?
Bhargav, it's only now. So before it was fine,
Okay, cool.
What do you do different,
So,
bro?
and we don't
uh,
hear you though.
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
I don't know what's happening.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yep. We are able to hear you now.
Much.
Actually, I was playing the
Okay,
video and
hold
like
up,
it was not
hold up,
happening
hold up.
before.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
My audio is coming in through the meet, and the video is coming in. Video and screen share is coming through the other thing. That's fine, right?
yeah. I mean, it was working fine before. Now it's fixed.
Just past 3 minutes, maybe. Okay. Anyways, hopefully it's coming through fine now. And okay, so what I was getting at was when you go to
And like it is not happening.
through Maya, when you go do shift right click, and when you go into the options of smoothing where smooth, there it is. This is how often I use Maya, by the way. I forgot where that was. You have a bunch of different options in here. Um, you can select what type of subdivision you want, Maya or Katana Clark, or Open Subdiv Katana Clark, and a bunch of other things as well. Not really connected to the UV border smoothing. So all of these settings can be emulated through or can be worked on through OP scripts. So if you go and look up um, our a renderman wiki or rmanwiki.pixar.com, and if you look for AOVs in Katana, it's gonna walk you through, or it's gonna walk you through what you can do and how you can get them. Oh, sorry, these are for AOVs. I was looking for renderman wiki geo smoothing. So
I hope the audio is fine now. If there's any problem, let us know.
smoothing geometry 20. Da da da. Give me a second. My bad. I thought I had the right link. I did not have the right link. I think I do now. No, I don't. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, man. There you go. I hope that's the one.
Send me the link. I can share it. This is for the What is it for?
This is for the smoothing of objects.
Okay.
Give me a second. Give me a second. Ah, there it is. I'm sending it to you so you can share the link as well. So this link, um, basically, this is where I learned about it from through RenderMan Wiki, Pixar.com. Subdivision of surfaces in Katana. So the first method which I showed, which was kind of the simpler method, using the attribute set node where you just call it a subd mesh or give it a subd tag. It kind of starts smoothing out your geometry, which works in all fairness, that works pretty well. If for whatever reason you want to smooth object according to some other setting in Maya, you if you scroll down a little bit more, it has in great depth information as to what different setting does. So you can actually set different attributes in here or different integers in here to set up different attributes or different type of smoothing. So it actually explains in depth what does what. So if you want to take a look, you can go and read up on it over here. And if you were more curious and wanted more information, you can read further below, and you can get in a lot more information as well. So along with that, this you can share this as well, Sunil. I think I should have done this much earlier. You can install PRMan from here. I've sent the link to Sunil and he will be sharing it on stream now. So once you install RenderMan from there, in you can get RenderMan across Maya as well if you were using Maya. So you can get the entire tab and you want to create convert text TX maps, you can do that from here. This may not be enabled by default, so you may want to go into Windows setting preferences, plugin manager, and enable RenderMan from here. So once you have RenderMan enabled, you should have RenderMan Maya as well if you want to just use it in Maya. That's totally your call. So, okay, getting back to the template, these are my object statements. Now, because I'm smoothing using the OP script, I've just disabled the attribute set node. You can just press D in the node and it will be disabled or enabled. Now, OP script is a node as well again, so you can just go OP-SCRIPT, and you can, if you know Lua, you can write in your own scripts to do some interesting work in for the objects. And below that I have my material assigns happening. So my material assigns is where I'm creating my materials over here and I'm assigning them onto the objects in here. I could have done this much higher up, but I wanted to segment all of them into different portions, so I did it here. So one of the advantages of doing that is if you have a very big node graph and you are stuck somewhere and you wanted to go somewhere immediately, you just hit J and it will show you what are all the different marks that you have or backdrops that you have. So objects and settings, and I'm there immediately. So that's pretty useful. So that's something you can do. So next to it, I have my light rig setup. So in my light rig, first off, I have a ground plane that I've added in. A ground plane is what I have essentially created to not allow the light from the bottom to hit the top. So I have a gray material create for that over here, gray shader material, and I have just transformed that and just assigning the material so that the light from my IBL setups will not hit the object from below. And I have my lights actually coming in from here. So if I put my purple dot here and I view from there, and if I do an expand all, you should see my Pixar dome pop up here. And my computer is frozen because it's not as powerful as I would want it to be. Give it a minute. It's thinking. I shall take a break too. Oh shit. Quick break. So basically that's my HDRI setup. I downloaded I generally use HDRI Heaven for free HDRIs. They have some really good HDRIs if you want to pick up any. They're free to use. And now for my live light setup, I'm using something called a live group. Now I'll get to what a live group is in a minute, but imagine it to be something like a group or a group merge, or basically just a group node, just a group node where you can do whatever you want inside it. It's not like a group stack or a group merge where it's up and down or left and right. You can literally do whatever you want. So in this case, I'm using a merge node in here. You can see that all of these are locked. That's because it's a live group. If I come here and if I right click on it and if I say edit contents, it's not a live group anymore. So if I go in here, so I have a couple of light rigs coming in through here. I have a forest light rig, I have a studio, and I have another studio. Now this studio has a transform 3D node which I have used to just rotate it to the angle that I wanted to view it at. Basically that's about it. So if you look at this, there's a different studio light rig, and if you look at this is just a forest light rig setup which I'm not using right now. These are big HDRIs, so computer generally takes a little while to load them up. They're Some of them are 16K and some of them are 8K and some of them are bigger. So now the advantage of this is, imagine I wanted to add another light rig. The advantage of doing things in a live group. Now imagine I wanted to use another light rig in this project, which is say a cloudy sunny or some light setup like that. So say I added another gaffer 3 node and I connected it to the switch in here, so I can actually go in and add some other light. So now in my light rig over here, I'm gonna browse and say I wanted whatever light rig this is. It already has a TEX, so I wanted this as well, and that's basically an interior light rig. So I wanted to use this, and for some reason I want to use that light rig in the other Katana projects that I have set up as well, that already have this live group in there. So now instead of, imagine a live group to be something like another Katana file that I have sourced into this Katana file. So now the moment I right click on this and say publish and finish editing contents, and I just overwrite that live group and I say overwrite it, everything in here gets locked again, right? And now this is shared across all my Katana files that have this particular light rig live group. So if I have another file in which I'm rendering a completely different character and I wanted this light rig in there, it's done. It's already immediately there. So now I just have to open that file and the light rig is already ready for me to use. I just have to mention that down below and I'm good to go. So that's why I've used a live group here, and that's how live groups can be really helpful. Now, because I double clicked on the merge, it's switching back to the original light rig that I had selected, and it's stuck because of that, because it's a big file and it's trying to switch one image to another. When I say that, imagine each image to be like 300 MB, a single image. So they're pretty big images. Now, that's a beauty of Katana. You're not importing any of that. You're just sourcing them from off the disk, wherever they are. So every time you create a new Katana file, you're not gonna import that image in like how you would in Photoshop or something. You're just sourcing it. That's the same reason why I like Nuke as well. So now after that, I have AOV set up below that. Now AOVs are what I was showing earlier, your different passes. So you have your diffuse direct, you have your diffuse indirect, and you have stuff like specular direct, specular indirect, and normal pass. And there's no emission or transmission happening here, but I have those as well. So subsurface right now either, but there's a subsurface pass as well. So I have all of that set up through my AOVs over here, and I'm using a variable switch node to determine if I want to see no AOVs at all, or if I want to see some of the AOVs, or if I want to see some extra AOVs. Now, in most normal cases, I want to just see the basic AOVs, and in some cases, I want to see a little bit more than that. So now, in some cases, if I just want to render out things fast, I won't want to see any AOV at all. So over here, I have a setup at the top where I can just come here and say I want to see none. And if I take a render, I will have a slightly faster render without any of the AOVs. And if I say the base set, I'll get some of the basic AOVs that I generally need. And if I say extra AOVs, I get in some extra amount of AOVs that are coming in through here. So this is my basic, and along with the extra AOVs, I'll just launch another render. And while that happens, I'll just show you how my AOV setup is done. So if I open in this group, I have two group stacks in there essentially. One is called output channel defined, and the other is called a render output defined. So this is a render of mine with the extra AOVs. So if you come in here, you can see that I have reference position. In this case, a lot of these are not defined. So these make very little difference, but you have stuff like UV coordinates. So you can actually tell which UV space, which object is coming in through. So if that's helpful for you in some cases, you can actually make use of it. So as it's not in most cases, I generally just leave it at base or switch it to none if I want to render things faster. Now inside the AOVs or the extra AOVs, I basically have two group stacks. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, so I have an output channel defined group stack and a render output defined group stack. So each one of these is a output channel defined node. So in here, I'm just defining the name of the channel, and I'm telling what type of the output it is. So it can either be a color output or a float or a point or a normal or a vector or an integer, depending on what it is. So in most cases, you will only use floats and integers if it's a set where you have a bunch of things coming in. Like imagine you're creating a mountain range with a lot of mountains or like a lot of rocks, and each rock has its own individual unique ID. That's the only time you'd use a float or an integer. And points and normals and vectors are, I'm not entirely sure when I would use points and vectors, but I'm sure there would be some use for it at some point in time. So this is where I'm setting the stuff up. Let me show you for the base AOVs because that will make a little bit more sense. So for diffuse direct, this is a code that works. Now, all of this information you can find on Renderman's website again. I'm going to share the link with you in just a second. So basically, you're defining the output here. I mean, you're defining the channel here, and you're defining the output of these in the render define outputs. So you're going to tell what type of a channel it is and what it's going to actually output. So once you have all of them set up, if you come in here, you should see all the ones that you've set up, and you can just select what you want to select or select what you want to render out. And if you go into this path here, which is renderman wiki page for 1 second. Yeah, if you come in here for renderman's wiki page for AOVs, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll soon start to come across places where it's defined as to what your AOVs are. Give me a second. I do not remember where. They're called LPEs. Yeah, there it is. Light path expressions. So over here, you'll be able to get your light path expressions. Yeah, yeah. So these are your light path expressions for different passes, and you have a bunch more that you can uniquely create using the information that you have in this web page. So if you want to create some path for yourself, you can take a look at this and you can go through it and you can be as creative as you want to be. Sunil, this is the other link that you want to share. So that's how I have created the AOVs. Now all these AOVs are coming in through three different inputs into a variable switch node. Now in this variable switch node, I basically have the first input called none, the second input called base, and third one called extra. And through project settings, under variables, I've created a project setting called set AOV, and over here I can just select whichever AOV I wanna set. So that's basically what I have for AOVs. And then for render settings, um, in Maya, the way you create, the way you set up render settings through here. This has popped up on the other screen. The way you come here for render settings, be it Arnold or Piaman, Renderman, Renderman render settings, those settings are set up directly in Katana through a node called render settings over here. Okay, now before that, let's go through render statements once. That's kind of important as well. So render settings is kind of split into two nodes. What you do in Maya through render settings and render statements through render settings, it's been split into these two nodes here: render statements, render global statements, and render settings. So you can set up stuff like pixel variants and min and max samples, and basically your render bucket size and your render limits and all of that through here. And in render settings, you can set up which camera you want to use, your render resolution, and what type of width or height adjustments that you want to make, and basically what all filters you want to render. All of this you can set it through render settings. Through render statements, it's your image quality. Through your render settings, it's your camera settings essentially. Not not in like, that's a broad way of putting it, not completely correct, but that's how you want to keep it in mind. But if you don't find what you're looking for in one of them, you'll most probably find it in the other one. So that's basically what you want to create, remember. And then finally, I have the render node. Now this is useful only for one single purpose, and that is to give it a path where you want to output your renders to, so that finally when you do render disk render, you can disk render or disk render with dependencies. It's just going to output all your renders into one folder. So that's the only reason you actually need this node. I'm not sure if yeah, you do not get. The thing is, you can do a preview render from anywhere in the network, in most places from the network. If it's below the render settings, you can do a preview render because your camera is set up and your light rigs are set up. But if you don't, if you are if you want to render, if you do want to do a batch render the entire sequence, you would want to use a render node and have your render paths set up before you launch your disk or batch render. Now, coming back to the top, this is the last node that I want to speak about. It's called an interactive render filter node. Now, these are special nodes in Katana which do not need to be connected in the node graph for it to work. Now, these are really helpful. So, interactive render filters are it's an interesting node. Now, you can use this node to basically change any aspect of your node graph without it affecting your final batch render. This is showing that it has an error because I tried to render from it. If I do this, it should go away, and it did. And cancel it. I cancel the render. That's why it's an error. If at all anybody's curious, no. Why is this erroring? Why? What I do? What I do? Out of memory. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my god. I've got no more RAM left in my computer to render. That's because I have too many things running in the background. That's why my Katana is asking me to just give up on life. But I'm not gonna render anything. But I'm just gonna speak about this for a second. Now imagine you set up your render
Render
settings.
settings.
I
I
can
can
hear
hear myself.
myself. Dinesh,
Dinesh,
can you
can you
mute?
hear?
Hello. Okay, so much better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Imagine you set up your render settings with a pixel variance of 0.01, which is quite high, but it takes a long, long, long time to render. And imagine you set up a bunch of other things as well, like your min and max samples and your incrementals and all of that, incremental renders and all of that stuff. But you want to change it on the go. When you want a preview render, you want a different thing, and when you launch a batch render, you want a different thing. That's where you use interactive render filters. This is an amazing one, where once you create an interactive render filter, you don't have to connect it at all. You can just say plus. The moment you, it's like a group stack in itself. So the moment you create a click on a plus, it's just going to pop up or pop open this window with like a new filter, and you will have to select what type of a node you want. First off, you want a name. So let's say half res. You want to render half res. So HAREZ half res. And over here, forget about the category for now. Let's say I want half res. So generally you want to use render settings to change your resolution. So render settings in here. So now in render settings, I'm gonna come in here and not half res. Say I want very low resolution. Say I want or 256 by 256 for extremely small previews, because okay, so the moment because my computer doesn't have enough memory anymore. So the moment I create this, you can see I have something called half res here. So this is the one which I just created. If I want to be sure about it, I just call it new underscore half res, right? So if I come in here, the new underscore half res, and it's gonna render a 256 by 256. Let's pray to God my computer has memory for that, and it doesn't. Okay, I hear the fans blowing, and that's not a good thing. So, okay, anyways, so this basically is gonna create a render of 256 by 256 pixels, because that's the new render filter that I created. You don't have to create render filters just for render settings. You can create it quite literally for anything. You can create it for render output defines. You can create it for um, global statements, PM and global statements. So you can customize stuff like pixel variants. If you want very low quality renders, just put in one pixel variance. So that will reduce that by that much more. Now, every time you create a new one here, that is going to create a new tab. So let's call this, let's instead of new res, let's call this tab one settings, right? And let's call this tab 2 settings, one tab 2. So now if I come in here, you can see that there's tab 1 and there's tab 2. And what, so each tab you can actually fill it with different types of things. So you can do a low resolution with low pixel variance just to see your preview renders. You can do one with double resolution and much lower pixel variations for like very high resolution renders. And you can do other stuff like that as well if you want. You can literally create a gray shader, and you can say gray shader render setup just with a new material assigned. The beauty of this is if I create a render setting, and if I say, if this is the only change that I make, this is the only change that's going to affect all of this stuff. That does not have a yellow mark here is not going to affect at all. That's the beauty of interactive render filters. And in the end, if you have any of these switched on or switched off, or you have all of them switched on, really doesn't matter. If you right click and do a disk render, this stuff is not going to come into play. This stuff is only for your preview renders here. So that's the beauty of interactive render filters. And that's pretty much everything that I have in my Katana scene. Sunil and Dinesh, if there was something you guys wanted to ask, you can ask me. And Clint has messaged in the comments.
What I
Did
say,
you guys read
dang,
that by any chance?
bro, that's like amazing.
Ah,
I'm
thanks,
gonna
dude.
I'm gonna try this now.
Ah, cool. Go for it. Go for
Yeah,
it. I'm glad you liked it. I wonder
yeah.
if
I,
Dinesh
I
is
was
still
I
on
was
this. Do you
totally
think he's
listening to
sleeping?
everything.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
I see
I'm
what you
here,
did
bro.
there.
I just didn't wanna echo things, so I put myself on mute. And he was speaking non-stop, so I didn't get
yeah.
anything to speak.
We didn't get to fuck up the stream because
Yeah,
it,
Oh, that's nice. I know.
it
It's
was
good to
your
know
good
that I
bro.
speak a lot.
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah,
Glad you liked it too, Clint.
yeah. This is
Da,
very
da, da.
informative, dude, and I think this is going to be very, very useful, at least for like these four people that we have on the stream right now and Clint. I don't know about the other
Uh,
people who are interested in Katana. If they are like, this is like really good if you're a beginner. And
I wouldn't say beginner, dude. It's like it's a little much information for beginner stages because I didn't even tell what type of nodes to create and stuff. Because I think that's where you'd want to start up from.
yeah, I think
But
like once I try it right, I will come back to you for sure. Like I'll have a lot of questions.
anytime, dude, anytime.
Yeah,
If you want to ask anything specific right now, you can as well.
as I
No
said,
worries.
I was listening to everything. So I wanna try
Oh
it.
man,
I wanna try it once.
give it a shot. Install it. You can actually pick up my scene file if you want, and you
Hmm.
can give it a shot because creating your own takes some time.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to do it, you can do it. But if it's not your thing, it's just
I think I
easier
wanna.
way of starting with
Yeah, I think
things.
I wanna try from scratch with just once because that's more like a learning thing. When you run into problems, right? That's when
Mm,
you learn stuff. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Go for it, dude. Make it. Don't put the D in the wrong places. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
That was really stupid, dude.
But yeah, it's a great, great stream, bro. Very, very useful.
Hey, thanks, man. So if there's nothing else, I think we can call it done.
Yep, we can.
Awesome. So hopefully in the next one,
Can it?
next time I show Katana, I'll be showing a lot more interesting renders.
Yeah, I'm actually working on the guy, and I'll show you the update after the stream. After we're done.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
That works.
Oh,
Oh,
Clint has a
question.
question. Go for it.
What's up, man?
Oh, I feel bad that we didn't ask him to join the
Question
stream.
one. Why does look dev
Why
suck?
does look diff suck?
Wow.
Uh,
Oh
It doesn't
man,
suck, bro. You don't like it, that's all.
it doesn't
this is
suck.
the same issue. This is the same question that I get with sculpting, dude. It's like, why is this shit so tough and why can't I fucking sculpt?
And the answer is
Uh,
it doesn't suck, you suck at it.
you suck. Clint, you suck. You don't suck, dude.
Not you, you
Eh,
suck at doing that stuff.
yeah,
Mm.
by the way, all the best for your what's the character's name, dude?
Oh,
Arcane's character that you're
Jinx,
working on. I
Jinx.
saw like a few updates on Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah.
links. It
Bro,
looks pretty
honest
decent now,
opinion,
like compared to
yeah.
what I saw last time.
No, 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 no. Honest opinion, I loved the blockout that you had, but now that you're getting
Oh,
into some zoomed in details, right? It looks meh. But like the blockout thing that you had, it was really good.
why is he crying, bro?
Is he? Oh,
Sunil's a
he's
piece of
no,
shit
no.
that
It's
says that.
because of you. He's happy that you liked it. He's happy that you liked it. I
Why
gave
does
him,
look dev suck?
I gave him compliment on Instagram. He's like, no, bro, you're making fun of me. I was not, dude. It looked good. I kind of liked the blockout that you had.
I'm losing interest, it seems.
Yeah, fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
That's a problem, bro. That's a problem. Like, I don't know, dude. I feel like Sunil's going through the losing interest thing with certain assets right now.
No, no. If you're talking about the jellyfish, no. I'm actually getting, I'm actually getting into it right now. Before I was like, man, should I do that? But now I'm actually interested in doing this after your
Bro, do it, dude. Finish
great
it. Like,
stuff.
even if you're gonna do like some work offline and finish it, like, just do it and finish it. Cause I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on this end for it. So,
Okay.
I don't
I'm
know.
just stretching the stream to 1 hour. It just like maybe what 30 seconds more, and I think we'll call it done.
So, the number of things that I could do in 30 seconds. God damn. Damn.
Uh, I thought something
Uh,
else. I'm
you
not
just
gonna
wanted
say
to
it.
count down. I don't know what your dirty mind thought, dude. You're a piece of
I'm
shit.
not gonna say it, but I thought that
You're a
30
piece of shit.
seconds. Cool.
I
And
listen, why are you this way?
should we call it done then? And I'll show you the update on the jellyfish guy,
Yeah, that
which
works. That
which I
works.
did just now while you were doing this.
Oh, that's
God
awesome.
damn.
Yeah.
It's been
So
awesome speaking to all of you. Hope this was helpful.
speaking
And
to
ciao.
speaking to all of us, are you kidding me? You're the only one who spoke, and I feel bad about
I'm
that.
speaking to the world and the internet, dude. It's like
He's
I
not
feel like a
speaking to
lot
you,
more
Sunil.
people.
Yeah, I feel bad that I didn't get to fuck up the stream today. I didn't say some stupid bullshit, but now we are gonna do that. So peace out. Fuck it. Bye bye.
Peace out. Bye bye, everyone. I guess.
Yep.
Good
Uh,
night. Bye.
good night. Okay, night, night.
Oh,